Good afternoon, friends. Today we are going to talk about how to forget your former love. And this video will be more for women than for men, because for some reason it is women who come with this question more often. Apparently, a woman is more sensitive, more emotional. Men come with this much less often. Let's look at the different types of separation from a loved one. We won't include death, because working with death, therapy connected to death and such separation is a completely different topic with different stages of work with a patient. Today we will talk about voluntary or involuntary separation from a loved one. When you left him, he left you, or you slowly drifted apart. But usually this brings suffering to both sides. Or when a woman was married and decided to forget her lover in order to preserve her marriage and decided to erase her lover from her life. How long does this suffering last? On average, about a year and a half, sometimes 1 year, sometimes 2. That's the average duration of this type of emotional pain. What does this suffering look like? A person constantly dreams about her beloved man. She is stuck in endless mental chewing. She thinks about him 24 hours a day. This causes very strong emotional experiences, a kind of masochistic state. She understands that it only makes her feel worse, yet at the same time she gets pleasure from it, because when she thinks about him, she feels as if she is with him. Why does it feel so good? Sometimes you tell a patient, let's create a behavioral consequence. If you think about him, you will have to wash the dishes. If you think about him, you will skip your beauty salon appointment. And the patient chooses to give up all pleasures just to stay in that thought of him. Next, a woman constantly visits his social media pages, looks at photos, statuses, who he is seeing, how his life is going, and so on. Then there are endless fantasies. On one hand, the woman understands perfectly well that they have no future, that he is already married, that everything in his life is fine. But she continues to build imaginary plans, mutual trips, how happy they will be together, what children they would have. In a woman's mind, this fairy tale spins endlessly. She stays in these soul-tearing emotional states. She endlessly listens to touching, emotional songs, suffers, and indulges herself in these feelings, even though all of it is very painful. What happens in therapy? Let's look at this. When a person comes with such a condition, let's call it conditionally a love addiction, even though it's not exactly that, it has certain similarities. If we are talking about this attachment, this infatuation and separation, what are we dealing with? We are dealing with projection. What is projection? It is a psychological defense mechanism in which a person projects outward what they carry inside. For example, it's very easy to understand if we take pathological cases. A person in a paranoid state thinks he is being watched or listened to. Or someone with phobias and obsessions, they externalize what is inside them. The same thing happens during falling in love. A person attributes qualities to another person that he does not actually possess. Why does she do that? She is playing out some unfinished childhood scenarios, unresolved moments with her parents, her mother or father. And now she is trying to compensate for it in the present. To be needed, to be loved, maybe even to punish herself, a lot of things. She tries to replay this today. What do we do in therapy? We separate her from the image of this prince, we remove the projection, everything she put on him. Because if you replace this man with another, at some point she will love the new one in the same way. After a certain number of sessions, she becomes sober. She comes with a fog in her mind, with a distorted worldview, and gradually she becomes sober and sees reality as it truly is. Next comes substitution therapy. We must use the wonderful ability of our psyche to replace. One must not close off, one must constantly look for a replacement. Life continues and moves forward. We ask the client, what resembles this feeling? This man gave her certain emotions. What could give her similar emotions? Now she has a hole, her beloved man has been torn out of her, and now there is emptiness. My task is to help her fill this emptiness with something, her favorite hobby, for example, drawing, playing music, singing. Or maybe her career, maybe she is a businesswoman. Something must take that place. Then we look at the serotonin component. The relationship gave her a large amount of serotonin. Now she must replenish it by herself. She can go to a beauty salon, buy beautiful clothes, travel somewhere, raise her serotonin with her own efforts. And since this was an addictive type relationship, adrenaline activities help as well. Extreme sports, bungee jumping, skydiving, surfing, windsurfing, wakeboards, motorcycles, and so on. Adrenaline raises serotonin in the same way. Next, another very important point, a very dense schedule. Suffering loves time. If you have free time, you will spend it suffering. But if you schedule your day, week, month, year in detail, there is less and less opportunity to suffer. And these year and a half, 1 or 2 years, can be very different. You can end up in deep depression and in a neurosis clinic, or you can come to a specialist in time, work through it, and leave this emotional state calmly, without big losses, preserving your energy instead of pouring it into endless emotional rumination. By preserving your internal resources, you prepare for your new life. That's all. Today we briefly talked about a very serious topic. All the best, goodbye.